And I think it's one of my favorite scenes. It ended up being that way, but I remember there was like one of the first takes, and they were like, action. And I just like walked in and I sat down, and like I didn't say anything, and like you like passed me like the joint, and then like I didn't go to grab it, and you were just like, and I was just like, and then I just like started like looking around. I'm like, oh look, there's the crew. Oh look, it's a camera. And then Nick was like, cut. And it was just hilarious. I don't know. It was a funny moment. I mean, it's a big problem, and we got. You took one of my women. No, I love that. I love that point when you forget to act, yeah, and you like sort of black out, and then all of a sudden someone yells cut, and you're like, did we just finish that? I love that. My favorite thing.
So I'm going to try to keep it pretty brief this morning so I'm not so long-winded. But I want to discuss the type of people that were at the East Point condo complex in Waterbury, Connecticut. It was located on Gay Ridge Road, which is off of Shraff's Drive, which is off of Scott Road in Waterbury. So this whole area, it was a ridge. It was a dead-end road. And it consisted of 3 condo complexes at the top of this ridge. And they had all military people in those 3 complexes. And it was something like a military testing zone for MK Ultra and radio frequency technology. That's what they would call it, a testing zone. But what they did was put people under mind and soma control up there, and they would abduct them and then kill them. That is what the U.S. military is involved in. In MK Ultra, what they end up doing to people is nothing less than Satanism, cruel satanic things, and they are all involved in the Freemasons. So I want to discuss some of the people, some of these military agents that they had at the East Point condo complex. They were military agents. They were part of MK Ultra, and they were probably high-ranking Freemasons. So they were called brothers. When you join the Freemasons, they say that you are a brother. But I feel that's a little bit inaccurate. If you're just a regular idiot, they get suckered into joining the Freemasons, and you become an apprentice Freemason or a fellow craft Freemason. Some of them never figure out what those guys are really involved in. The higher ranking ones are called brothers, and they are like junior priests. They are underneath the fathers, and their religion is Freemasonry. And Freemasonry is Satanism. Freemasonry is the occult. So I saw a video, a documentary on Netflix called Inside Freemasonry. And what you'll notice is a lot of those guys that they have interviewed, they not only look slow, many of them look borderline retarded, because that is what they actually are. These high-ranking Freemasons that are part of the military in programs like MK Ultra, they are nothing short of mentally retarded. That is who will go along with these disgusting, heinous rituals where they place people under mind control, they abduct them, and then they rape them. That is the whole point to the occult, is abducting and raping people. That is a big point to it. I was watching the Da Vinci Code Part 2. It's called Angels and Demons with Tom Hanks. And there's a scene where they walk into a old church. And it was this old pagan church down a secret passageway. So Tom Hanks and his girlfriend are walking into this area with a flashlight, and there is a painting on the wall of what looks like a guy, a muscular guy, tied to a pentagram. So I looked at how he was placed on the pentagram, and it looked like his butt would be going through the center of the pentagram. So imagine a pentagram with the 1 point up and the 2 points on the bottom. That's the sign of Wicca or witchcraft or the occult. So his 2 legs are tied on the 2 points on the bottom. Both his arms are stretched out and tied to 2 points on the side. And then his neck is tied to the point on the top. So each one of his extremities are tied to a point on the pentagram. And his rear end is sticking through the hole, through the center of the pentagram. That looks like something that's been designed so these homosexuals could rape that victim who had been placed under mind control and was abducted. MK Ultra mind control is not exactly what people think. Like all of a sudden you lose your mind and you go and you do stupid things. A lot of pain is involved where they begin to affect your organs and they cause so much pain. They could force you to walk out of your house at night and become abducted because you're undergoing so much pain. That is the truth about mind control. And that is what these mentally retarded people are up to. You get a nice young family. You get a pretty woman or a handsome man, maybe with a young family. They move into their area. They move into this area of military gimps. And these military gimps say, oh, here comes the new royalty. Here comes the new king and queen. And they can't wait until the time where they can abduct them and rape them. They are bisexual. They are the type of people that they don't care who they have sex with. They have such low IQs and such low morals. If they get excited, they'll have sex with anything. And that is what the military looks for. That is what the Freemasons look for. My father, who is also involved in this, he is an autistic loser. He's an egomaniac. And he does not care about anybody else but himself. Per his orders, he told me that he got a great deal. He bought a condo because he got a great deal at the East Point condo complex. And if Rachel, who was my wife, and I wanted to move into that, he would rent that condo to us. So that was how we moved in there. They wanted us in there. And in 2010, they began the radio frequency torture experiments on me. At that time, my older daughter was 5 years old, and my younger daughter was 3 years old. So the military's plan was to move my wife and I into that condo, wait till we have a couple of kids, and when they're 3 and 5 years old, to start torturing us so they could abduct us and do disgusting things. That is your U.S. military. That is your Freemasons. That are your rabbis. And that are your priests. So I want to talk about a few of these guys that were at the East Point condo complex. Also in the complex was a man, I forget his name. He was a mentally retarded African American male, approximately 55 or 60 years old. And he lived with a fat African American female who looked a little younger than he was. And they had a little boy around 5 or 6 years old who appeared to be autistic or slow or mentally retarded, much like his 2 parents. So this guy would drive around with an SUV with Freemason logos on the back of the SUV. So I think I saw him down at the gas station one day, and we're both waiting in line. And I say, you live over there at East Point condos? And he says, yes. And I said, well, I never met you. My name is John. I live in the building across the street from you. And he says, yeah. And I said, I wanted to ask you, what are those stickers that you have in the back of your car? He goes, I'm a Freemason. And I said, do they give those to everybody? And he says, no, but I know where to get them. And by putting those on my vehicle, the cops know not to pull me over. Nobody messes with you with a sticker like that on your car. And I said, where do you work? And he said he worked at Southbury Training School in Southbury, Connecticut. And Southbury Training School was a place where they taught mentally retarded people. I guess they would help them with life skills. And that was where he worked. The funny thing was that he seemed mentally retarded himself. So after meeting him, I would wave to him when I would see him. So if I would be standing in the grassy area in the back of our condo, we had a back stoop, and Rachel had a little garden there. And sometimes our daughters would play in the back there. So I'll be standing there with them, and he would drive up, and he might walk over and talk to me a little bit on occasion. Or if I would walk up to the mailbox and see him there, we would have a short conversation. So at some point, he says, I know that you asked me about the Freemasons before. I have an application here if you want to join. So I'll look to see if I kept that application. I'll scan that and put that on the internet. I think I had tried to ask him a couple questions about the Freemasons, and he said that he could not talk about what happened at the Freemasons unless I was a member. And so at some point he had an application for me. But of course I never wanted to join the Freemasons. I had read a lot about the Freemasons on the internet. I had heard about the Freemasons and secret societies from reading William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. And for the most part, I always read that they were part of a conspiracy. And the reason everything was secret in their groups was because they were up to criminal actions. So the idea that they are a social club, a charitable organization, and the only reason they're called a secret society has to go way back in history when the Freemasons were part of the Stone Masons Guild, and they had to keep their secrets of building quiet. So they developed all these secret handshakes and secret passwords and secret orders to protect their knowledge of how to build different buildings and cathedrals. Everybody knows that when you're building something, who are you keeping it a secret from? If you got a bunch of guys building a house, sooner or later, you're going to have to break down and tell them the secret about how to build a house, how to cut a rafter, how to frame out a house, how to pour a foundation and attach your walls to that foundation. Sooner or later, you're going to have to break down, give up all your secrets, and tell people who are working for you how to build something. Either that, or the real smart ones could observe what the other people are doing as they're building something and learn it on their own. So these concepts that they come up with, that their secret Freemason order came from the Stone Guilds protecting their ancient building secrets, it doesn't make much sense when you think about it. It's all excuses and lies. Another one is that they had secret handshakes and secret passwords so that their paymaster would know what to pay the guys on payday. So if you are a master builder, you would know the master builder's handshake, and you would shake the paymaster's hand on payday and get a master builder's salary. And of course the general laborers who are just pushing the wheelbarrows around, they're going to know the apprentice builder handshake or the apprentice builder password. And so they'll tell that to the paymaster on payday and get apprentice laborers' wages, which are a lot lower than the other guys who are more skilled. So think about that. Basically all of you work somewhere, right? When it's time to get paid, Do you think your boss is going to confuse you with one of the executives there? If you just got hired and you're working in the warehouse, you think that you need to know a special password, or else you just might be likely to go in and get executive wages that day? Do you think that if a stone guild, a stonemason guild, is in charge of building a building or a cathedral, do you think they'll catch on who the laborers are? Do you think they'll catch on which guys are the architects? Do you think they'll catch on which guys are the foremen? And the managers might know who the foremen are. And the foreman might know who's skilled, who's a valuable employee, and who's just the general laborers. There might be people who are paid to even keep notes about all of that. So at what point do you say, okay, this is out of control? We have no idea who the laborers are, and we have no idea who the architects are, and we have no idea who the foremen are. So we have to come up with a whole secret handshake system and secret password meeting to pay everybody. Everything that comes out of the Freemasons' mouths are lies. Everything that they say about their craft on the internet or in these documentaries are lies. The big secret is they place people under mind control. They torture people, then they tie them to pentagrams, and then they rape them. And these are the guys that they get to do it. This old passive black guy who supposedly helps mentally retarded people at Southbury Training School. This is the type of guy that they can program to do anything. So the last one that I want to talk about is a guy named Ryan. So Ryan was around my age. So in 2010, he was around 35 years old. So Rachel and I had a landscape business. So around that time, I was just finishing up school. I was about to get my associate's degree. So she wanted to hire somebody to help her finish a building project that she got. So she walked into the condo and said, I just brought the garbage down to the dumpster. And that guy who I told you about, who I met before, he's down there around the dumpsters playing with his son. And I think I may hire him to work with us. So why don't you go down there and say hello? So I went down there to meet Ryan. And Ryan was sitting there on the curb. And he looked like he was autistic. He looked like he was borderline mentally retarded. So I brought down something to throw into the dumpster. I brought down like a cup from Burger King, and I threw it in the dumpster, and I lit a cigarette. I used to smoke at that time. I said, hey, I'm John. I'm Rachel's husband. He goes, hi, how are you? And I say, good. So Rachel says that you might start working with us. And he's like, yeah. And he's kind of sitting there like a retard. And he has his little son that's kind of wandering around this dead end. You had buildings on the left and on the right as you drove down this hill. And at the end of the hill is this tiny cul-de-sac. But there's this ending with two dumpsters at the end of the road. And he's kind of sitting off to the left of the dumpsters. So he has nothing to say to me. And I'm kind of looking at him and I think, wow, he's kind of slow. But I'm not getting a bad feeling from him. So I decide to sit down on the curb on the other side and kind of look at him. And I see how slow and innocent he looks. And he's kind of acting like a big kid. So I wait like a minute. Then I say, have you worked with stone before? A lot of what you'll be doing has to do with stonework. And he said, well, I worked for a construction company in Florida. It was more carpentry though. So I kind of waited till I finished the cigarette, and I was kind of watching this kid kind of running around. And at that time, I had no idea who he was. I had no idea that every single person that would really go out of their way to get into our life would be part of this military program. So I walked back and said, yeah, he's nice. He's real quiet. And Rachel's like, yeah, that's what I thought. He's just a nice guy. He tells me that he wants to get out of the condo. He lives there with his mom and his brother, and he has to stay on the couch. So we can't wait to save up some money and then move out. So Ryan started working with Rachel and I. And Rachel treated him pretty good. She would even bring lunch, and she would get him lunch too. I guess because the poor baby wouldn't bring anything to drink or eat. And so Rachel said, you know what? You don't have any food? I'll make you a sandwich too. Because Ryan was just her little baby, and he needed special care. So to be nice, Rachel would pack a few drinks and include one for him. So as I finished school, this building project that they were both working on seemed to be drawn out. So one weekend, Rachel says, I really have to get this done. We're really behind schedule, and I'm not going to make a lot of money with it. I thought we would have been done by now. Is there any way that you could come and do more hours even though you're trying to finish up school? And I said, sure. The reason we had hired Ryan was due to the fact that I had to kind of concentrate on finishing my classes. So I said, what do you want me to do first? And she goes, just fill up that wheelbarrow with gravel, bring it over here, dump it into this trench and tamper it down. So I went over there, I kind of dropped the wheelbarrow, and I took the shovel and I quickly raked half a wheelbarrow full and kind of pulled the wheelbarrow back on its wheel, and then threw 4 or 5 more shovelfuls on the top of the wheelbarrow, wheeled it over to the hole and dumped it in. And I guess that took me about 30 seconds. And Rachel said, wow, that was quick. That would have taken Ryan a half hour. So after a few more comments like that, I kind of realized that Ryan was a pretty lazy guy. So the three of us started working together. And Ryan had been conditioned to kind of stand there next to Rachel with this blank look in his eyes, not doing anything. He would kind of watch Rachel and wait for Rachel to say, hey, could you hand me that tape measure? Or get me that hammer. Give me that saw. I need some more stone dust. So for 90% of the day, Ryan would just stand there next to Rachel. So I put it into that real quick and said, Ryan, you're going to have to do this, and if she needs you, she'll call you. You don't have to stand by Rachel staring at her all day. So unfortunately, Rachel, who was not too good at supervising people, kind of fell into that mode where Ryan was her personal assistant who would stand there for most of the day assisting whatever she did and really wouldn't look for things to do. A good employee will go to a work site and you don't need to tell them what to do. They just know what to do. They can look around that work site and figure out what needs to be done. Or say to their boss, what needs to be done over here so that you can concentrate on what you're doing and I can get something else done. So I don't have to interrupt you all day long asking, what should I do next? There should be different projects happening all over the work site. This is the project that Rachel did. She may have called somebody to help her cut these steps in front, to cut the angles. I'll have to ask her. But I think she did most of this herself. I did a lot of the digging. A big part of this is laying a gravel foundation, moving the gravel over and then tampering it down. I also had to put in drainage pipes underneath this. But once again, we hired Ryan because this was a big project and I had to concentrate on school and get finished with my associate's degree. So Ryan was nothing but a waste of money and wasn't a big help at all. I think Rachel ended up breaking even on this job. So the only person that made money on this job was an MK Ultra military retard like Ryan, who got 15 bucks an hour, standing around and not trying to help Rachel at all. It didn't matter that she was bringing in him drinks and making sandwiches for him and giving him $15 an hour under the table, which was more than she was getting. Ryan would stand around and try to get out of work every day, and he couldn't care less if the job turned into a big mess. Nothing would make Ryan feel better than to see Rachel fail. But Rachel made sure that she finished it, and the end result was this. So Rachel gets all of the credit for this. So I think around that time, I was able to work for Rachel again. So we didn't need Ryan to work for us. especially because he did not want to get too much done. So Ryan had saved up the money that Rachel had given him, and he had moved out and gotten an apartment. So one day he knocks on our door and he says, "I'm getting kicked out of the apartment." And he said when he was walking in, there were guys putting on a roof and they started throwing shingles at him. The roof shingles at him. And that started an argument. And then he was asked to leave the apartment. So he wanted to know if he could move in with us. And he asked me. And I said, hold on a second. And I went up and said, "Rachel, Ryan's out there. He says he's getting kicked out of his apartment and he wants to know if he can move into our house, our condo." And she says, "I don't want him living here." She said, "I already gave him enough money working for me and he never wanted to work too hard. I don't want him living here." So I told Ryan that and he walked away. So I used to take walks around the block. I'm walking down the hill, walking down Traff's Drive to Scott Road, and Ryan drove by in his car. And Ryan says to me, "I got an apartment with a girl I met at the mall." And he says, "I got a TV and a few things. Is there any way we could use your truck to move it to my place in, I think it was Bristol." So he wanted me to use the truck to move a large screen TV and a couple other things to his new apartment in Bristol. So I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." So I drove him to his new place in Bristol and I met his girlfriend. And his girlfriend, I believe, is this woman. So this woman is also involved in MK Ultra. And again, he said he met her at the Waterbury Mall. They had a small apartment and they had something like 4 or 5 kids there. And I recognized one of the kids was the same little boy that Ryan had with him that day when I first met him, when he was sitting down by the dumpsters. So that little boy was there with 4 or 5 other young kids that were all around the same age. And he said those are all her kids. So it looked like she was having kids every 9 months. The weird thing was is they all looked around the same age. They all looked around 6 or 7 years old. And including his kid, there were like 5 of them. But to finish up with Ryan, is that I was looking at Rachel Vote's Facebook page. I think in 2016, Rachel and I were split up in 2012. She had to move up to New Hampshire into her parents' house. And it took me like 3.5 years to get up here. And by then, Rachel did not want to have a relationship with me anymore. She had been programmed that that is not acceptable. A great deal by her own mother and sisters and her friends, all who are agents of the MK Ultra program. Her sister Heidi is a career military woman, and she was the first to call up with her husband Rick, who is a career military man, and convinced Rachel to dump me and never to go back to me. So they're good little military drones. And Gloria is the son of a Freemason. Her father was named Ernie, and Ernie would always shake your hand like a Freemason. I think his name was Ernie Johnson, and that was Rachel's maternal grandfather. So Rachel also grew up in a military-controlled family. Her dad served in the Vietnam War, and her mother is a daughter of a Freemason, and her sister's a lifelong employee of the U.S. military. And they all convinced her to break up with me and never go back. So I was looking at her Facebook page in 2016 to see all her new buddies. And I came across this guy. He had a Facebook page with a few photos on it. And this was the most clear. This is Ryan. This is Ryan from the East Point condo complex that worked with Rachel and I in 2010. Of course, he was using a different name on Facebook. So he's saying he's so-and-so from New Hampshire. And maybe he's friends with her good buddy Dana Coley or her good buddy Becky. But this is in fact Ryan, who probably now lives in New Hampshire because his job is to follow Rachel and I around the country, and he'll never stop following us around and bothering us until either he dies or we die. That is what these autistic weirdos do. They definitely don't work landscape. They definitely don't work construction. Ryan specializes in showing up at a job that he gets paid very well for, working for a couple of kids around his age that treat him pretty fair, pretty cool, and going out of his way to be a lazy, self-centered bum. So he's perfect for the military. He's perfect for the MK Ultra program. And it's just not Ryan goes out of his way to be lazy because the military considers these people a target. No, Ryan's a naturally lazy, unproductive idiot. So he is the perfect choice for the MK Ultra program. That is why the MK Ultra program loves molesting, sexually molesting all of their junior agents when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Because it screws them all up, and they grow up as nothing but military prostitutes. And when they get older, they don't care about anybody else. So that is what you have working for the U.S. military. And these programs like MK Ultra, you got prostitutes, you got drug addicts, you got obese gluttons, you got sadistic maniacs, you got self-centered assholes that don't care about anything with antisocial personality disorder, like my father. You got jealous, bitter people who have been injured and sit around snorting Oxycontins all day. You got the lazy. And I would say that every single one of these people are autistic or schizophrenic. They all have severe mental problems. And that is who is chosen to advance in our government, in our military, in our economy, in our society, when our country has been targeted for destabilization, when they want to destroy our country and turn it into a communist dictatorship nightmare. These are the people that are best to allow that to happen. Hey, Hey, bud, how are you?
Not too bad.
Cool. Hey, could you take... Hey, bud, how are you?
Not too bad.
Cool. Hey, could you take a look at my car real quick? I got a quick question.
I'm dealing with a customer right now, but
Oh,
I'll be right
okay.
with you.
I just remember you from last time, dude. What's your name?
Bailey.
Bailey, cool. All right, Bailey, should I wait inside or?
Yeah, it's way on.
All right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay for like the first 40, 50,000. You can get higher mileage. Time change is good to know. You do that. Right here, right? Yep. All these lights on. We're looking at about 5 o'clock. Okay.
We know what each other's going to do, and that really helps in the world of pranking and messing with each other, you know. I know everybody's next move, and they know mine. We know everybody's fears and what really triggers them.
I got a muffed up ass butt.
I know, and you had the cutest butt ever, and now you ruined it.
No, Dick Farm Done ruined it.
I know, why'd you ruin it?
I tried to do it good. He jumped around. I was scared of burning my own friend.
Why would you burn him in the first place, Don?
Because it was funny.
It's not funny.
rolling down the highway in a vest with a patch on the back that says, "I'm not in a car." Yeah, we know that. We can see. You know, it's just stupid. It doesn't mean anything. And all it is sort of thumbing your nose down at people who are in clubs. And some of you out there like, Hell's on Two Wheels and a couple of his 9mm two wheels and Dyna guy Greg. These are all happy live stream Eve. Nose down at people who are in clubs. And some of you out there like, Hell's on Two Wheels and a couple of his 9mm two wheels and Dyna guy Greg. These are all happy live stream Eve. Today's Thursday the something, and tomorrow's live stream day. So I'm already excited. I mean, we had a good time last night on Two Wheels Down Swami, his page. We did a live stream.